What's going on, guys? It's Andrew here, and welcome back to my channel where we talk about Social Security changes, the next two stimulus packages, and daily news updates as well. Now, at this point, you've probably heard that the next two stimulus packages have been intertwined with the debt ceiling. So if this debt ceiling deal is delayed, not only will it delay the stimulus packages, but it could also shut down the government, meaning that 50 million seniors could have their Social Security benefits cut off. The good news is Mitch McConnell just announced that he is offering Democrats a deal to make sure this does not happen. To avoid a shutdown, make sure Social Security benefit payments keep being paid and bring us one step closer to having the stimulus package approved. And if you've been following my channel, you already know that Bernie Sanders wants to include a $1,000 stimulus check for seniors in this next stimulus package. So let's discuss the details in this video, but before we do, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. I also have a second channel, so if you could do me a huge favor, click on the link that's in the description of this video. Go ahead and subscribe to my second channel. I'm going to be giving away a stimulus check on that channel just as a thank you for supporting my work. Okay, so the debt ceiling, the physical stimulus plan, the American Family Stimulus Plan, which could include a $1,000 stimulus check for seniors. It is such a big week in Congress, not just for the government to make sure things don't get shut down, but also to bring us one step closer to that stimulus package. Well, first of all, if you haven't heard, Bernie Sanders wants to include a $1,000 stimulus check in this next American Family Stimulus Plan. Now, his reasoning for this is to help seniors pay for medical costs until they're able to expand Medicare. Remember, Bernie Sanders wants to expand Medicare to include vision, dental, and hearing care. Now, the problem is experts think it could take at least 1 to 2 years to fully implement this expansion. So Bernie Sanders came out and said, to help seniors in the meantime, let's give every single person on Medicare a $1,000 stimulus check to help them cover those costs until Medicare is expanded. Now, this is not just a pie-in-the-sky proposal. This is from Bernie Sanders, who is the Senate Budget Committee chair, and it has the support of Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. So there is a really good chance this is going to end up in the American Family Stimulus Plan. Now, as Democrats work to try and get that stimulus package done, you've probably heard that Democrats are currently fully focused on increasing the debt ceiling. Now, this is something that happens every single year. Democrats and Republicans come together and they approve an increase or a suspension of the debt ceiling, basically to avoid a shutdown. And the reason they do this is because for decades, the government has been spending more than they make, meaning every year the debt increases, and there is a law saying that that debt ceiling has to be voted on to be increased. So with Democrats trying to approve their $3.5 trillion stimulus package, that's going to add to the debt, and they need a separate bill which would raise the debt ceiling to allow them to do this. Well, the problem is Republicans have vowed to not help Democrats get this done. This has made Democrats furious because they are saying that they have always helped Republicans pass this to approve the debt ceiling. Specifically, during Trump's administration, they always helped Republicans increase the debt ceiling. So Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are saying that Republicans are not playing nice. But guys, when do Democrats or Republicans ever play nice, right? So for the last couple of weeks, there's been a huge concern that the debt ceiling increase would not be approved, the government would shut down, and over 50 million senior Social Security benefits could potentially be frozen. Now, the good news is Mitch McConnell has offered Democrats a deal to keep the government funded and avoid a shutdown. Now, the only thing is this is a short-term Band-Aid. This would only keep the government funded until December, so Democrats would then have to figure it out once again. So why is Mitch McConnell doing this? Why is he offering them a short-term solution but not a long-term solution? Well, at the end of the day, Mitch McConnell wants Democrats to include this debt ceiling increase in their stimulus package. The reason Mitch McConnell wants them to do that is twofold. One, he wants to tell the American people that Democrats alone are increasing debt and putting our country in further debt. That is not going to help Democrats in 2022 when the elections come up for both the House and the Senate and they try and maintain control. Basically, being able to blame Democrats for raising the debt would be strong ammunition for Republicans Republicans to try and take control of the House and the Senate in 2022. Now, secondly, by including the debt limit increase in the stimulus package, it's going to make it even more difficult for Democrats to approve that stimulus package, right? Because they're already having a really hard time just agreeing on what's already going to be included in that package. Adding the debt ceiling increase is just going to make it even more difficult for Democrats like Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin to come together and compromise. This is another thing that Mitch McConnell wants to see happen. But at the end of the day, Mitch McConnell and Republicans do not want to take blame for the government actually shutting down. This is why they've just offered Democrats a deal to keep the government funded and open until December, giving Democrats enough time to figure out how they're going to include it in their stimulus package. Because quite frankly, at this point, most likely that is what's going to have to happen. It doesn't look like Republicans are going to budge. And again, this debt ceiling directly affects Social Security benefits because if the government shuts down, Social Security payments could potentially be frozen for over 50 million seniors in this country. And on top of that, there's a good chance that this debt ceiling increase will have to be included in the stimulus package, further complicating negotiations. Now, this clip does a really good job of explaining exactly what's happening right now in regards to the debt ceiling and the next two stimulus packages. So let's take a look, see exactly what they had to say, and then we'll discuss the details and what we expect to happen next.
Critical issues to address. The last thing the American people need right now is a government shutdown.
Well, with just hours to spare, the Senate has reached a deal to avert one crisis, the government shutdown. But President Biden's economic agenda is still on the line, and today could be make or break. With just hours to spare, Senate leaders say they've reached a deal to avoid a government shutdown. Now on track to pass a bill today to keep the government funded through early December. One deadline down, two more to go. The nation is still barreling toward a possible financial disaster, and the fate of the president's economic agenda has never been more in jeopardy.
We're obviously at a precarious and important time in these discussions.
But weeks of negotiations have done nothing to break the stalemate. Today, the House is scheduled to vote on a $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package to rebuild the nation's roads and bridges. It will likely fail. Progressives plan to sink it because Democrats have not reached a deal on a separate $3.5 trillion package, which includes funding to combat climate change and for early childhood education.
I'm a hard no tomorrow. I'm an absolute no. You can write it on the wall with Cori Bush next to it. I'm a no.
A growing number of Democrats now frustrated with moderate Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who refused to support that larger bill.
It's time for our colleagues to determine what is the bottom line.
But Manchin has not said what that bottom line is, dealing another blow, saying, "I cannot and will not support trillions in spending or an all-or-nothing approach that ignores the brutal fiscal reality our nation faces."
Well, we take it one step at a time.
For now, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the vote is still on.
Okay, a lot to unpack there, but first, the debt ceiling. Democrats wanted to approve a bill that would extend the debt ceiling until the end of 2022. Now, Republicans completely blocked that in the Senate. But then Mitch McConnell offered Democrats a deal to extend it until December, just to give them enough time to figure out how to include it in their stimulus package. Now, currently, it looks like that is what's going to happen, and the Senate has reported that they plan to approve it by midnight tonight, just before the government would shut down. Now, if this doesn't happen and Democrats and Republicans don't come together to extend government funding until December, then they will be gambling with millions of Americans' Social Security benefits. Now, this is unlikely to happen, so I don't want to freak you guys out, but I want you to be informed as to exactly what's happening when it comes to Social Security benefits and what's happening when it comes to stimulus. And right now, there is a chance, although small, that Social Security benefits could be frozen if Congress does not extend government funding until December. But it looks like that is a large certainty that it's going to happen tonight. Now, experts think that if the government funding is not extended until December, that the government will run out of cash on October 18th, and shortly after that, they will not have cash on hand to physically send people their Social Security benefits. Now, this can be confusing because although Social Security is self-funded from its $2.9 trillion trust fund, the trust fund does not actually have a lot of cash. Most of that $2.9 trillion is held in bonds. Now, and in order to sell those bonds, they would have to have permission from Congress to do so. which of course we all know when it comes to Congress could take weeks or even months to happen. So if the government does shut down, although they have $2.9 trillion in bonds, it could take weeks or months to actually restart paying Social Security benefits. So guys, this could potentially be really, really bad. Now the good news is, like I said, Mitch McConnell has offered Democrats a deal to extend government funding until December, and it looks like Democrats have accepted that deal. Chuck Schumer said that by midnight tonight, they're going to approve this in the Senate, the extension until December, and then pass it to the House, where they're expected to approve it as well, and then pass it to President Biden's desk to have it fully signed by midnight tonight. Now, the expectation is that after that, Democrats are going to work on trying to include a permanent solution, a permanent increase to the debt ceiling, to include that in their next stimulus package. That will further complicate negotiations within the Democratic Party. People like Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin and everybody in between will have one more thing to disagree on. And all of this is happening as Democrats are also set to vote in the House to try and fully approve the physical stimulus plan tonight, as Nancy Pelosi promised moderates to have that done by the end of this week. Now, in regards to the physical stimulus plan, moderate Democrats like Joe Manchin want to get that done as soon as possible, but it appears that progressive Democrats are going to vote no, and they're not going to let that fully pass until the American Family Stimulus Package is approved as well. And that American Family Stimulus Plan is the one that Bernie Sanders is trying to include $1,000 stimulus payments for seniors, specifically everybody on Medicare, and potentially everybody on SSI and SSDI as well. Now, the details on that $1,000 check are not quite clear, so we're not sure if SSI and SSDI would qualify, but based off of how things usually work, SSI, SSDI, and VA are usually lumped in when it comes to Social Security benefits. So guys, this is a huge, huge week when it comes to Social Security benefits and when it comes to stimulus negotiations. Now, Nancy Pelosi just held a press conference explaining exactly what she believes is going to happen next when it comes to the debt ceiling and when it comes to stimulus. So let's take a look and see what Pelosi had to say, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
Was this about the San Francisco Giants winning the most games ever? I don't think so. Good morning, everyone. Today is an eventful day. That's why you're here, I guess. But we do have some of our regulars. Thank you for being here, all of you. As you know, we had a full agenda this week that involved, first of all, keeping government open. Right now, a little bit later this morning, the Senate will be voting on a continuing resolution, which they will send back to the House, which we will pass and send on to the government, to the president, to keep government open. We hope that this can be a strongly bipartisan bill because it keeps vital services running, protects up to hundreds of thousands of workers from furloughs, and protects the economy from shutdowns. A shutdown is not anything anyone wants. It was never thought we would have one, but nonetheless, it will happen today. Yesterday, as you know, in the House, we voted. The other item on the agenda for this week was lifting the debt ceiling. And I was very pleased that we were able to send that legislation back over to the Senate. You know how cataclysmic that would be. It would trigger the loss of 6 million jobs, $15 trillion in household wealth, 4% decline in GDP, and massively increased costs. Any of you have a car loan, a home mortgage, a credit card bill, all of your interest rates would go up. And I'm worried about that across the kitchen tables across America. Only 3% of the debt that we are talking about here is incurred under the Biden administration. And this is about, not as we go forward, this is about paying the bills. The way you have to pay your credit card bill, so does America. As I've said to you before, the 14th Amendment says the full faith and credit of the United States of America should not be in doubt. For some reason, we've put ourselves in a situation to vote on this each year. We'll have to examine that process. But for now, yesterday I was very proud of the members once again lifting the debt ceiling. As you recall, we had done so the week before with the continuing resolution to keep government open, and 100% of the House Democrats, and then 100% 100% of the House Democrats voted. The Democrats voted for it. The Republicans voted against it. 100% of the Republicans in the Senate voted against lifting the debt ceiling and keeping government open, even though many of them in the House and the Senate had families in their districts suffering from Hurricane Ida, many of them wanting to help the Afghan evacuees in our country. Nonetheless, they thought it was a good idea to vote no. Hopefully today on the CR, they will vote yes. And I'm hoping that it will be a very positive bill. So now you've come here about what else comes next. We have two items that, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, the BIF, and of course the reconciliation. I just told members of my leadership that the reconciliation bill was a culmination of my service in Congress because it was about the children, the children, the children, the children. Their health, it's about health, their education, the economic security of their families, a clean, safe environment in which they could thrive, and I guess a world at peace in which they could succeed. This is more about the domestic first poor parts of that. So remove all doubt in anyone's mind that we will not have a reconciliation. We will have a reconciliation bill. That is for sure. Today the question is about, we are proceeding in a very positive way to bring up the bill of the BIF, to do so in a way that can win. And so far, so good for today. It's going in a positive direction. It's impossible, though, to persuade people to vote for the BIF without the reassurances that the reconciliation bill will occur, and it will. And that we cannot, because of rules of the Senate in terms of parliamentarian having to pass on any bill before it comes to the floor and pass on any language, we cannot really guarantee what I'd hoped in terms of having a more legislative form, but nonetheless, the framework that if it's okay with the President of the United States, who has this vision for our country. As I've told you before, he said, I want to work on the bipartisan bill for infrastructure, but I will not confine my vision for America to what is in there. We have to build back better, and to do so in a way that honors our climate goals, honoring our responsibility to our children to convey this planet in a responsible way, that does so, that respects the needs of, the opportunities for working families with issues. So all jobs, green technology, jobs for women in the workplace, dads who may need home help. All the things, child tax credit, child tax care, child care issues that relate to universal pre-K, home health services. If you have a senior or person with disabilities in your home, some of you know this, you hear it every time you come here, but I just want to make sure that it is reinforced as to why this is important, because it's jobs for women, it's jobs for people who have been previously underrepresented. Build back better. So when you build the infrastructure of America, you're doing so with a workforce that has workforce development, can be involved in those decisions. And it has a justice to it that the president has insisted upon, that we're not building in ways in the past that have separated communities and perpetuated environmental injustice, but instead build back better with justice. And then, of course, the health care issues, which are so important, the extension of Medicaid, the strengthening of the Affordable Care Act, expanding of benefits for Medicare, all of that as part of the health piece, and those are jobs.
So Nancy Pelosi trying to blame Republicans if the debt ceiling does not get increased and if the government shuts down, making that very clear that in her opinion, it would be the Republicans' fault. At the same time, she is trying to urge progressive Democrats to help them approve the physical infrastructure plan, which Democrats already approved with Republicans in the Senate. That was a bipartisan package. Now it just has to be approved in the House. She is trying to get progressive Democrats to vote yes with Republicans and moderate Democrats to fully sign that into law, and basically promising them with her word that the American Family Stimulus Package will get done. Now, will that happen? We'll have to wait and see. We expect to have that vote tonight, but a lot of progressives are saying that they will not vote to approve the physical stimulus plan, until the American Families Plan is fully signed into law as well. So there is a lot happening this week when it comes to stimulus and when it comes to Social Security benefits. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will keep you posted as things develop on the next two stimulus packages, Social Security changes, and daily news updates as well. So thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, take care and have a great day.